Hey everybody, this is Rob and Jordan with Archangel Inc. Live number 20. Jordan, how are you today?
Rob, I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So everybody out there, Jordan is traveling with limited bandwidth, so apologies on not having dual video today, but he's with us on audio, and we're gonna be talking about some cool stuff today. Also, we will be uploading this YouTube live video to Facebook a little bit later. Again, just technical issues, so thanks for bearing with us, everybody. Anything you wanted to start off with, Jordan, before we jump into our topic of the day?
No, just a quick thanks to you for being willing to be flexible and figure out all these technical issues and connectivity and data and all that. You think you're convinced something's going to work, you tested it, and then you go to do live, and then it just doesn't work. So cool. Thank you to you, but also thank you to all our listeners and our fans who are just willing to hear us out, and also appreciate those times when we just can't make it fully work. So those are my initial thoughts, but I am excited to dig into our content today.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So today we're going to be talking about 10 book marketing strategies in 2020. Of course, the 2020, these are kind of timeless. It's not really specific to 2020. Some of them maybe, but we'll get into that. These are kind of big picture ideas for how to think about your book launch, or rather book marketing, and the considerations that go into it. And once again, like we did last time, I'm going to do my best to pull up these comments on and just give something to follow along with. So I think that went over pretty well last time. Made the video a little bit easier to follow. So we'll see how this goes. But all of that said, let's jump in. 10 book marketing strategies. Number 1, get a quality book cover. So Jordan, do you want to start chatting on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is, a topic that everyone's familiar with. When you go in to make a book, you need to get a book cover. It's pretty standard. But just thinking about, as far as book marketing goes, they don't often it doesn't get lumped in with the book marketing. Normally, it's you think about a book cover. It's okay. I just edited my book, and now I need to think about formatting. And yeah, I need a cover for it. I need that to complete the book, and then I can go on and then market the book. But we always say that marketing begins in the early stages, and it really, really starts kicking into gear with, figuring out that cover. Generally, and we've talked about this before, a book cover is not something you want to do on your own. It's not necessarily something you can DIY unless, you happen to be you happen to be a design, guru, like you're really good with that, and you can kind of see what other people have done with book covers and then manage that and figure all that out yourself. Generally, it's something you're going to want to get a professional to jump in and do for you and have it done. But we are talking about that as the number one, basically the number one marketing thing you definitely need to remember is, you spend all that time writing the book, editing, maybe even years of brainstorming and thinking about it and pouring yourself into the book. It's just very important, not only for the marketing aspect, but important for you too, to, get a quality product together, is to have a cover that you can be proud of, but also is that's going to fit the market and sell the book.
Right. Yeah. Our philosophy is you don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your book cover. Sometimes we get people who are really keen. They have a very particular vision in mind, and they want something that's kind of, I don't want to say out of left field, but very distinct, very unusual, very uncommon. And their thinking, which is reasonable, is I want to really stand out. I want people to instantly recognize, this cover as something that I've created. Excuse me. I want to instantly recognize, people instantly recognize that this is unlike anything they've seen before. But the better advice, from people in the industry and what we've found is it actually makes sense to kind of speak in genre conventions, to speak in cliches almost, because the cover isn't trying to reinvent the wheel. You might be doing that in your storytelling. You might be, kind of throwing curveballs, giving something that's new and distinct and not just kind of formulaic. But when it comes to the cover design, you want to speak to what people know and what people are looking for. And so you want to show them that you're a part of that core group, that demographic, and that what the vernacular is and what the expectations are, at least when it comes to the visual representation of the story, so that you can pull them in and they can say, okay, yeah, I'm looking for this particular type of book. This book looks like it belongs. The people who created it, the author or the designer, whoever it was, they know what they're doing, and I have some trust and credibility. Particularly if you're a first-time author, particularly if you've never been in this in this genre before and don't have a followership already. The bigger the followership that you have, the more leeway that you have to kind of flaunt conventions, I would say. But when you're first starting out and, when you're building your followership, you definitely want to pay attention to those and show deference and, humility and consideration for your audience and their expectations, so that you can say, hey, this is something that's going to meet those expectations, hopefully exceed them as well. But I'm not going to force you to do the heavy lifting in order to take a chance on somebody that you've never heard before.
Yeah, I just think that's so key when you're thinking about the book cover. It's about more than just having a flashy cover that people click on. Obviously it is important to have something that looks good in a thumbnail, so that when it's on Amazon or wherever you're going to put it, people are going to notice it and stop and take a peek at it. But getting a cover that represents your book and all the work you put into it is super important too. Right. And I don't want to delve too much into, because we do have other ones we want to cover, but I did want to just share real quick some methods for, and if you're okay with this, Rob, figuring out how to get a book cover done. There's a lot of different options. And just off the top of my head, you can jump on a website like Fiverr or Upwork, and there's a lot of designers on there, and if you're very careful and selective, there are definitely good ones out there. We tend to shy away from saying that people should jump and go to Fiverr for a book cover, especially if you're only planning on spending, a $5 or $5 or $10, you really want to put more than that into the book cover. And maybe there is someone out there that's a great designer. They're just starting out, they've done book covers before, but maybe nothing on a mass scale, that you could find a great designer on that platform. But generally, if you're going to spend $5 or $10, you're going to get someone that's maybe going to spend 5 or 10 minutes on the book cover, and that may not turn out the best in the end. Upwork is a little bit of an upgrade from there. You can find people that not more professionals, but I think it is a little bit more fine-tuned to find someone that has done design before. So you may have better luck on there. Going with a company like us or someone else that does book covers, the way we do book covers is we have one person that does the book cover, and she's been doing it with us for a while, and she's very familiar with creating book covers in a variety of different genres. That's one option you could consider. Potentially another option is to go with a company like 99 Designs, where you can have different artists kind of competing for the job and competing to do your book cover. Right. So there's just 3 real quick ways that you can get a book cover designed for you, and it doesn't necessarily have to break the bank, but it is something you're going to want to put into whether you're going to call it the marketing budget or the publishing budget or whatever you have for the book. It's definitely a huge consideration. It's why we always talk about it so much, because it's super important.
Yep. I wouldn't, just to dovetail with that, I wouldn't think about it as an afterthought, as something that you do,
yes,
as a secondary consideration, or as just sort of a requisite part of the process that you're like, all right, well, I guess I have to do this and put the minimum amount of effort into it. Definitely, we would encourage you to think about it a little bit more deliberately, because again, as people know, you judge a book by its cover. You make determinations in an instant, really, on what's going on with the viability of a book, whether you're interested in that book, and particularly, again, if you don't have that followership already, if you don't have a pre-existing relationship with the author, then the degree of latitude that you have for accidental missteps or inadvertently turning them off is quite low. So any reason that somebody can have to kind of dismiss you and not worry about you, especially with all of the many demands that we have on our time and attention, then they're likely to do that. And if you give them an avoidable reason to forget about you and to write you off, then you may have lost that customer forever. And that's to your detriment, as you're trying to connect with authors. They may have loved you, but because you did that one little thing and they just didn't have the bandwidth to process your potential instead of what you're presenting to them, then
Yep.
you may lose them, and you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. Obviously, there's no guarantees. You can't do anything. You can't guarantee that it is going to be perfect, but you do the best that you can, and just don't think about it as an afterthought.
Yep. And the reality is that, a big name, maybe not necessarily author, but a big name, someone famous can go and write a book, and, they don't have to really worry about the cover. Someone's going to see their name. Not that they don't have to worry about the cover. Let me backtrack a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be to the level that maybe you would want it to be. As someone that may not have a following, you really do you have to think about the fact that you want to do as much right as you can. And people, unfortunately, are going to be judging your book by the cover, especially if they've never heard of you. They're trying to decide whether, okay, do I want to give this person my time? I haven't seen anything from them. They're really judging every aspect of your cover, your sales page, and all of that. They're trying to decide if your time, if they want to spend time with you, and it's a big decision. So it's just, again, something to think about.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to one last thing. You mentioned, unfortunately, they'll judge the book by its cover, but it can be fortunate too if you do it well, and if you do it right, and you position yourself well, you can kind of give yourself a leg up on the many people who aren't taking advantage of that full opportunity. So yeah, it is
great point. I love that. Yep.
Yeah, it's a hurdle that you have to take into consideration, but it's also an opportunity, and doing everything that you can to nail it and get it done right can really help you.
Yep.
Cool. All right, so jumping on, second thing, pick a great title, and there are a couple of elements to that, but we often say that the title is going to be, along with the cover, the first line of marketing for an author, for a book. You want something that's going to catch the attention of your target demographic and give them a sense that this is a book for them. And we can talk again in a moment about the title and the subtitle elements and how to craft that. But again, you want something that's going to cast a great impression on your readers and give them a reason to click through. Say, okay, that title looks interesting. The cover, hopefully we've dialed that in, and that looks really solid and looks like what I would expect and what I would hope for. And then you get them onto their sales page. So that title is an important part of bringing them in deeper to to your book and giving them a chance to actually connect with it and make that purchase.
Yep. And we always say you want the first part of your title anywhere from 2 to 4 words. You want that to be the most punchy and then the most potentially original. And then your subtitle, the rest of the title, is more explaining what the book's about, potentially using keywords that you found in keyword research. But you're really working. Oh, and you got that right there. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
I just saw that pop up. So yeah, that's what you want in a subtitle. Descriptive 5 to 15 words with SEO terms. Perfect. That's the mix that you kind of want when you're thinking of the full book title.
Right. And then again, just going back to title, like you said, Jordan, you want a punchy, short, 3 to 5 words, 2 to 4 words, something like that. So I'll give a couple of examples of, one of my books, The Published Professional, 3 words, The Published Professional. And then the subtitle is how self-publishing can help build your brand, increase sales, and build more clients. I'm trying to remember it offhand.
Yeah.
But increase sales, kind of an SEO term. Build clients, build your clientele, SEO term. And then it's also telling you, hey, if you're a professional, if you have a business, then publishing is for you. And it gives you a sense of what you can expect from this book. And it says how can you do this? How does self-publishing actually contribute to this? And there is a lead in to what the book content is going to be about. And you can determine pretty quickly, oh, actually, yeah, I do have a company and I am looking to increase my sales. And self-publishing might be a good fit for me. Or no, I'm not a business person. This isn't something I'm interested in at all. And that's fine. And I can move on, satisfied that this book is not going to be the best fit for me. And there are other things that might be more suited to me. Because when it comes to Amazon, that the like click-through rate or the bounce back rate almost is pretty important. If you title your book deceptively, if you title it in a way that brings lots of clicks, but almost nobody ends up buying it, then Amazon sees that as a low performer, and they're not going to send people over toward it. They're not going to manipulate their algorithm to send customers and traffic over your way, as opposed to something that maybe it only gets 1% of the people who search for a term, they actually click on it, but of that 1%, 50% buy it. That's a pretty high performance rate. I'm making up numbers, but just as an example, you want that higher click-through rate, you want that higher purchase rate, and that lower bounce back rate, so to speak. So anything that you do to facilitate that in terms of setting clear expectations and really kind of targeting out your audience with your title and giving them a sense of who's worth of whether it's worth clicking on or not, and who it's for and who it's not for, that's going to help.
Yep. And Rob, I was just thinking of two quick questions too that I know a lot of people have about titles specifically. One question I'm thinking of is, hey, that SEO subtitle looks great, but isn't that a little long? Is it going to look long in the cover? Is it going to be too long to enter into Amazon? And for the most part, no. I mean, that 15 words is a great range, and you don't want to go on and on. You don't want to write, a paragraph. But when the cover's being designed, you could do that. If you break it up like that, you can do that short, punchy title and have it be really big and really catchy, and then to catch people's eye. And then you put the subtitle still potentially on the book, on the bottom or something. And you actually, for the most part, and don't quote me on this, but I don't think, at least right now on Amazon, I don't think you need to put the subtitle on the cover. As long as you put it in the subtitle box, as far as ISBN goes and their kind of requirements, you need to just put the title on the cover. So if you're worried about the subtitle being too long, that is an option as well. And it isn't for us, and for my recommendation is you really want to make sure you get the SEO and the keyword search in there, and that's just a really important piece. And if it doesn't go on the cover, that's okay, because your main title is doing that work for you to draw people in.
Correct. Yes, you can definitely do that. So that is a little insider tip and trick that we've used before, particularly when it came to CreateSpace initially, now KDP Print. When you have the ISBN, it is associated with that title and subtitle. You can elect to just put the title in there. The subtitle can be on the digital edition. Subtitle can also be listed on the cover, but if you want to tweak and change the subtitle later, then you can do that as long as you don't have it locked in and associated with that ISBN.
Yep.
So, for example, I have over here Volcanic Momentum. This is Jordan's book.
Yeah,
and
that looks familiar.
That looks familiar. Subtitle is Get Things Done by Setting Destiny Goals, Mastering the Energy Code, and Never Losing Steam. So, a nice title with a dozen words or so. And if Jordan, you decided like, hey, I want to change this subtitle a little bit later, you realize that Destiny Goals was just not resonating with your audience, or Mastering the Energy Code was really resonating with your audience, and you want to kind of rearrange it and tweak it. If you had set it up so that your ISBN was just associated with the title Volcanic Momentum, then you could do that. We could change that cover up. Obviously, there would be some technical factors to consider and steps to involve to update it, but you would be able to make that tweak and adjustment and then change it on the digital edition, because again, digital edition usually doesn't have an ISBN. It is typically just the Amazon serial identification number, or Amazon product ASIN is the shorthand. But anyway, you could do that. So that's just another trick you can take advantage of that would give you some flexibility for later. It probably wouldn't make too much of a difference in terms of undermining your SEO possibilities when it comes to the print edition, because again, it's going to be linked up with the digital edition, assuming you're publishing on Amazon, and that digital edition is going to have that subtitle that can have that kind of descriptive SEO heavy field.
Cool. The other question I had that I was thinking of is, does this work with fiction as well? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's fiction is going to be a little bit different. Generally, this works, I think, more effectively for nonfiction, and that's because fiction has their own particular genre conventions. You're going to have a
Yeah.
title. The subtitle is not necessarily going to be more descriptive. The subtitle isn't necessarily going to draw people in. I think it's more going to be the series, if you're a part of a series, or the content and what you're talking about. You're going to be speaking to fans of that genre in particular, and not necessarily to people that are looking for particular subdivisions within an arena. So, for example, self-publishing or business, and then the subdivision would be self-publishing and increasing sales. And so it makes more sense to extract that and articulate that more directly. Whereas I think with fiction, not as much. It's going to be, kind of the title, the cover, your description probably will make a big impact, but I'm not sure that the subtitle will. What do you think? I mean, what's your sense? What's your experience been with fiction?
I definitely agree with you there. And I do think too, based on everything we were just talking about, I think kind of the strategy when you're thinking of fiction, you don't necessarily even have to put it you don't have to put it on the cover. So it doesn't have to be something that necessarily flows, because you're thinking of, and I don't know I don't know if this, mainstream books do this, but I know there's a lot of authors out there, potentially in the sci-fi arena, that will publish a book, just think of a sci-fi name, but then they'll publish in the subtitle that actually shows up as a subtitle on Amazon. It'll, you're kind of seeing keywords there. You'll see sci-fi thriller, or sci-fi romance, or something like that, or just to describe the genre a little bit more. Now, not all the books do that, but I have seen other books do that online. I don't know if, like, I was just thinking off the top of my head, the book like The Martian. I'm not 100% sure if, and maybe they don't even need to, but I don't know if there's a subtitle associated with that describing more about the book.
Right.
Because you still have the sales copy, you still have the back end keywords that you're adding. But yeah, to answer the question, for the most part, I think a lot of what we're talking about, it does carry over. But it is going to look just a little bit different on how how it's actually being played out.
Right. Yeah, no, I think so too. And I'm going to see if I can share nope. Let's see if I can do this. I'm trying to share the screen for the, whoops. Nope. Still not doing it right. Okay. I'm trying to pull this up. I just looked up sci-fi opera. Anyway, I'll just describe it here. So I'm looking at some of it. So we've got, among the top candidates that come up, Columbus Day Expeditionary Force Book 1. So, it's part of a series. Going down a little bit, Syndicate Wars.
That book is actually great, by the way. The Columbus Day. That's one of my favorite sci-fi books. So you picked
cool. Nice, good deal.
A good one there.
Another one is Syndicate Wars: First Strike, a military sci-fi epic. So, like you were saying, Jordan,
there you
go. Sort of a description of like, hey, this is the genre specifically that and that's the marketing component to it. It is speaking to what people are looking for in terms of the story and the overall look of the story.
And that keyword right there is that's probably a keyword with potentially high search rankings. Military sci-fi opera, if that's what you said, or military sci-fi whatever.
Yeah.
Those are the things you kind of want to be thinking about adding into your subtitle, and also doing keyword research on, just to see what the market is for those type of books.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Market and competition as well, using those. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll just scrolling down just a little bit. One more example: The Complete Intrepid Saga, a hard science fiction space opera epic, Aeon 14 Collection, Book 1. So that's kind of the whole title, which in a way is kind of a mouthful, but it also tells you exactly what you're looking for. And so yeah, you're using the genre as a subtitle SEO tool.
Yep. Cool.
So okay. Let's move on. And we've got number 3, optimize your book description. So there are 4 components that we outlined here. Anything you want to say before we jump into those 4 components though, Jordan?
Oh, the only thing I wanted to say is it may seem like we're spending a lot of time on these first three here, but I think it's definitely valuable. We talk about these, cover, title, book description being the big three as far as marketing, because that's really what, you're figuring out what your book's about and what solution it's giving to people, what problem it's potentially solving. Even in fiction, if someone, it's not necessarily a problem, but if they're looking up, sci-fi military, they want a book that's going to meet those needs and those expectations. So again, we're spending some time on this, but I think it is key to have these three right.
Yep.
That's all I want to share.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good deal. So optimize your book description. First part, what is the book and who is it for? So you want to speak to, your target audience and kind of describe a little bit of what the book's about, what you're going to bring to the table for your target audience, and kind of identify them. So for example, when it comes to my book, The Published Professional, are you a business person looking to grow, to expand your business, to get a competitive leg up on the other people who are searching for your customers? Are you looking for a way to stand out, to connect with your audience on a deeper level? Then consider self-publishing, something like that. That's, I'm stating who is my target, and what this book is going to offer.
Cool. Yep.
Cool. Next,
you got it.
one. Yeah. So what is the solution it offers? So again, when it comes to the title, that kind of speaks to that, again, with the Published Professional as our case study here. But, what is the solution it offers? It's going to tell you, 40, a bunch of different ways that you can utilize books to help you self-publish, or utilize self-publishing a book to help you, increase sales and build your clientele. It's going to tell you ways to make your connection with your audience and with your existing clientele more effective. It's going to, it gives you a sense of what you're going to get once you're through with the book. And, and that's important. You want to tell people, you want to incentivize people with the promise of something, of some benefit, some value that you're going to bring to their life that is going to make it worthwhile for them to make the purchase and then spend the time reading your book.
Yeah, and a really helpful way to think about this, especially if you're going to, do the book description yourself and write that sales copy, is really thinking the best you can to put yourself in the mindset of someone who could potentially buy your book. It helps even more if you're interested in the type of book that you're writing. You can kind of look on Amazon and see what sticks out to me. What would I buy? What am I looking for when I'm looking at and I'm looking at the book description? What is it there that's gonna just push me over the edge? Because in some ways, if someone's reading your sales copy, that's great, because they've already clicked on your book, they've seen your cover, they said, hey, this might be something I'm interested in. They're looking at your book description to get that final sales copy, to get that final a kind of approval in their minds,
right,
that, hey, this is something I want to spend money on and do. So just be thinking of that, and when you're thinking of the solution and thinking of, your book. So what is it doing? And beyond just providing, a great 2 hours of reading, the best book in the world, which of course your book is the best book in the world, but what is it specifically doing for the person that's picking it up?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's a great point, thinking about how to reverse engineer that sales process when it comes to yourself.
Yep.
What is it that persuades you when you're reading? Bring some intentionality and deliberation to that process. You're reading about it and you're looking for something that's going to give you a reason. You have an itch, you have a desire to maybe move forward with a product, but you're kind of on the fence and you're like, okay, give me a good reason. I want to know what
Yep.
it is that this is going to bring me, so that I can feel good about making this purchase and taking this chance.
Yep.
Cool. All right, moving on. So next part is why you as the author. So another part of the book description that you want to include is some of your credibility, some of your credentials, something that you are bringing that is unique and going to bring value to your target demographic. Rob Archangel has been in the self-publishing arena for more than half of a decade, has overseen the publication of hundreds of projects, and he is here to tell you about why book publishing is going to be a helpful next step in helping your business grow, or something like that. Jordan Ring is took up the action diet himself and transformed his his body and his life by changing his his choices. And this is his story. This is what he brings to the table. And it's going to be something that you can relate to as well. Anything in that kind of arena. Did you want to speak on that, Jordan?
Yeah, I think just remembering to keep it as brief as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to list all of your accolades. There is an about the author section on the books page and your page on Amazon that you can put more about that if they want to know more. Don't flood your book description with all about you, because again, when you're thinking of the mindset of of a potential reader, they care who you are only to the extent that the knowledge in the book is good. They don't need to know everything about you, but it does help to have something in there as to why you are a credible person to speak on the subject.
Yep, I think that's a great point. It is not all about you. It is about the reader. People who are successful as authors are thinking continually about the reader, about the client, about the customer, about the person who's actually parting with their hard-earned money to support whatever it is that you're doing. So don't use this as an opportunity, even if you may want to kind of flaunt your credentials and make it more about you. It is not about you. It is about your audience. And that's a great point.
Yeah, I think that's great, Robin. It's something I've been continually learning and getting in the more the marketing mindset. It's to bring value to whoever is reading your content, and it's just something to continually think about. Continue to ask yourself those questions, and then just keep working at it. Especially at first, it was a struggle for me to think in that mindset of like, well, I wrote my book description. I wrote what my book is about. It does go beyond that, but it does take time and thinking through all this to get to a point where you can start, thinking that regularly and then noticing those things when you're looking at other books on Amazon and all that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point. And again, something that we tell people from time to time that we work with is when you're crafting your book description, you're not describing your book. Even though it says you're describing your book, you're not describing your book. You are selling your book. You are telling people what it is they need to hear to understand what value it can bring to their life. And you're addressing, you're raising and hopefully addressing any objections that they might have, and smoothing out the process so that they recognize that if in fact the book is for them and they are part of the target demographic and they would benefit from it, they know all of that and they can move forward with confidence. And that is the goal of the book description.
Yep.
Cool. So final part, clear call to action. So, something like, scroll down now and click buy, or scroll up and click buy now, or, visit or read this book today and, get your life on, on the new path that you're taking, or, whatever it is. Just something that tells them what to do and doesn't leave them languishing. You don't want to make it too salesy. In fact, there may, and you could speak to this perhaps, Jordan, I've heard differing things about whether it's a good idea to say, hey, scroll up and click buy now, or giving them very specific instructions of that sort. But in either event, having some sort of call to action and letting them know exactly what their next ideal step would be, I think can be helpful, even if it is not as explicit as, click buy now.
Yeah, I think it's something that it does depend on the book genre. I don't think that's as popular of a thing to do in fiction. I haven't generally seen that as much, but I think it does depend, probably even on the genre in fiction that you're writing. I just think it's something to consider. You know your audience for the most part. Or you maybe you're familiar with, you are your audience in some ways, even if you are just starting out. Is that something that would bother you? Is it something that would turn you off to the book? You don't want the last thing in the book description to be this thing that's going to turn people away. But it is valuable to have something in there that says, this is what I want you to do next. And you can be subtle about it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to type in there, scroll up, buy now, like spend the money. You don't have to go on and on, but having something in there just makes it clear. Like, yeah, if you're ready to get your life on track, start your journey with me or something. And you don't want to do that. That sounds kind of corny, but something like that, you can make it you can make it less cheesy.
Yeah, and depending on the genre, again, like I'm thinking of some of these space operas, maybe there's a recognizable character or something, and you can say, join such and such, on the next stage of, of this adventure today or something, just something that
Yep.
says, hey, here's a good next step. Like now the cards are in your hands, and it's up to you to move forward, and we'd love for you to do that.
Yep. Cool.
All right, so the last section here is the Kindlepreneur book description tool. One of the things that I see a lot of first-time authors and people without a whole lot of experience in the self-publishing arena doing is making a very flat and hard-to-read book description. So they, they'll just write out, maybe even in one big paragraph of a block, or one big block paragraph, whatever it is that they're trying to say. Even if you have all that content down, it's really helpful to break it up, to add bolding, to add different headers, to add bullet lists if appropriate, and just give some visual interest. It makes it easier for people to read it. And one of the best tools that we found that you can use to do that is the Kindlepreneur book description tool. We will include a link in the description down after this video is up. But yeah, it's just going to be helpful to make it a little bit easier for people to read and get them to actually follow through, and not have to digest a whole single big block of text that might be a little bit intimidating, especially if they have no relationship to you.
Yep, and just something important to note when you're using that tool is it's going to turn your book description into HTML code. And all you need to do is go in and copy that code and paste that code where it says book description on Amazon. Now, you're not going to be able to see a preview of that, but it is something that it is kind of weird. You're like, hey, I'm putting a book description, but I'm posting this weird format. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Once it goes live on Amazon, if you've done it right, if you use the book description tool from Kindlepreneur, it should go on live. And there has been slight issues we've had before. I think it's only happened to me once where an author was having struggles with converting that, and we had to kind of upload it a couple times. I wish there was a previewer within Amazon, but for the most part, if you upload the code in HTML, it will show up looking good on Amazon, or it'll show up looking how you want it to look.
Right. Yep. Exactly. How you have written that code out and use this tool if you're using this tool, or if you don't have to use this tool, but it's helpful, especially if you don't have HTML experience. If you do, then obviously you can do it yourself, but this is just a nice shorthand, and it does offer, like you mentioned, Jordan, a previewer, at least on the site itself, even if
you got it. Yep.
The previewer that might be nice if Amazon had as well. So
cool.
All right, so let's continue on. We've got a handful of other ones. So number 4, manage expectations. When it comes to launching your book, having reasonable expectations is going to help in terms of you setting your goals and in terms of you determining whether it's been a success or not. Did you have thoughts or comments on that, Jordan?
Yeah, I think it's super important, and we added it in because this, like we talked about before, this is something I struggled with when I launched my first book. I wanted to write The Action Diet, and I wanted to be, all of a sudden, I wanted to be the world's best author. I wanted to sell 1 million copies, and I was going to retire on that book. Even if I wouldn't have told someone that, those are the expectations that I was having with the amount of work and the amount of effort and the amount of time that I was putting into it, because as authors, that you're pouring a lot of yourself into your book. You're also putting a lot of time and effort and money and all of that. And it it can feel like all of this work. But it's just important to manage the expectations that are going to come from all of the work that you're doing, because it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And it's something that is worth it. It's worth it to have a book in your hands. It's worth it to get sales. It's worth it to get emails from people that say, Jordan, your book is changing my life and it's making a huge difference. And that can help motivate you and keep you on, keep you moving forward and keep you writing books, keep you writing blogs. But it's not going to be, there's no such thing as an overnight success for the most part, in most cases. Right. And expecting that can be really detrimental, not only to you, but potentially to your audience as well, who, they get your first book and, you don't feel the success from that, and then you don't write the next one. Whereas someone could potentially have really needed to keep hearing from you. Right. So it's not just about you. It's about a potential audience there too. So yeah, that's what I have to Sure. Without going too far into it's just it's a really valuable subject to me. I think because I went through it personally and have had to deal with a lot of that. It's just really something to consider as far as marketing a book.
Yep. Yep. I agree with all of that. Cool. So
Cool.
let's continue on because we have a handful of other ones that we want to address. Number 5, schedule book promotions. And then the corollary, this is kind of overviewed and outlined in Book Launch Gladiator, which you can get if you are interested. archangelinc.com/ESP, which is Entrepreneur Starter Pack. There's a free download of the Published Professional, my book, and Jordan's Book Launch Gladiator as well there. Did you want to just kind of talk about book promotions in big picture for us, Jordan?
Yeah, big picture is, you want to make sure as when you're planning for a launch, is that you're at least getting some kind of a punch on launch day, whether that's a service like BookBooks, which we still use and recommend people use, or if it's another book promotion service out there in partnership with doing your own AMS ads or whatever else you're going to do. If you're going to do your own Facebook ads or whatever you're going to do to launch the book, it's just important to think about planning those book promotions for during launch time. And like Rob said, the overview on how to do that with some suggestions is in my book.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Moving on. Number 6 is launch with book reviews. So it's really important to have some reviews. It gives some credibility, it gives some opportunity for people to at least read a little bit of what people's experience with your book has been. And that's a big part of why we focus on gathering reviews. That's part of our marketing packages. And it is something that we really encourage people to do. We do have, some particular guides, big picture guides, but anything big picture that you wanted to share, Jordan, before we get into some of the particulars there.
Yeah, big picture. And there are some people out there that will say, not to worry about book reviews, that they'll come organically. And for the most part, I don't necessarily agree with that advice, especially for people that are starting out. If you already have a following and can get your people to leave reviews, maybe you don't need to do the hustle work of getting your book out there. But if you are a first-time author, you do need to do the hustle work. And you do need to have some kind of social proof for your book. You can't just depend on friends and family to go and leave a review of your book. Amazon doesn't necessarily like it when friends and family review books. And if that's going to be your only source of reviews when your book is first starting out, then that may be detrimental. It's something you really do have to go out and outreach to people and get the book into reviewers' hands, so that when you launch your book, you can have enough people that are leaving a review. So, you have a little bit of social proof, and then you can get some sales, and then you can hopefully start to get some organic verified reviews in. It's something that will come eventually, but you do have to get the car started, so to speak.
Right. And one other thing that I'll mention, which sometimes people who are writing their first book aren't thinking about, is it's a good idea somewhere toward the end of the book. It's what we include in our skeleton file. Just have a call for review. Literally say, hey, if you enjoyed this book, if you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. Please offer an honest review on my Amazon page or wherever you purchased this book. And I'd love to hear from you. It's really helpful in reaching other people. And explicitly asking for it is something that I think a lot of people do these days, but not everybody does. And so it doesn't go without saying. It's important to remind people and to mention it and to encourage that practice, because I think it is a good practice.
Yep, you got it.
Cool. All right. So.
Oh, and Rob, I will say we'll link to the book review manifesto, and also we'll link to the first live video that we did. We talked about book reviews in that video too, so we'll try to remember to do that.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right. So there are a handful of steps that are involved in the book review. First one, gather your personal contact list. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be mom and dad and sister and brother and all of that, because as you mentioned, Jordan, sometimes Amazon can be a little funny about that. It's kind of hit or miss. Their verification system or their enforcement system is a little bit spotty. Sometimes you literally see a review up there that says, hey, I'm the stepbrother, or, I'm the husband of so-and-so. But here's my unbiased review. Other times those just get pulled and they'll disappear. But in this case, personal contact list doesn't just have to be that. It can also be, any existing email list if you have a followership already, or other networks in your industry, people who are familiar with you, colleagues, people who might have an interest in this book, who you can contact and who you may know independently and not just have to cold contact.
Yep.
Next thing that you can do is scan Amazon for reviewers of similar books. So go out there, see what genre you're going to be in, see which reviewers are writing hopefully good, thoughtful, primarily positive reviews of these books, and then see if there is contact information for them, and reach out and say, hey, I noticed that you read such and such. I've got a book that's in that same genre that's going to be launching soon. If you're interested in leaving an honest review, I'd love to send you a copy, and here's my information, or reach back out to me, and you can do that, and that's helpful. So anything else you want to say on that, Jordan?
No, I think if you want if you want an in-depth review of that process, you can follow our book review manifesto and all that, because it does go pretty in depth, but it is going to be a hustle process. And I think, again, like mindset, when we're thinking of, especially first time book launchers, but I don't think it's necessarily something that goes away. Right. Gary Vee is still hustling, and he's big. Right. I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to go away from. Right. Obviously there's ways that we can do things that are smarter and all of that, but just be prepared to put in a little work, especially for the book review process. Right. As we're doing it, it does take some legs. Yep.
Absolutely. So yeah, the book review manifesto outlines a lot of this more in depth, but I will cover the last couple of components here. Contact and follow up with your reviewer. So let's say they say, yeah, I'm interested, I'd love to have a copy. Contact them, you follow up with them, and make sure that they have it, and then continue to follow up politely, respectfully, not aggressively, until you get at least 10 reviews. So hey, just wanted to see if you had an opportunity to take a look at that book. If you're still willing to, write a review, I would really love that. And, just kind of, there are different templates and scripts that you can use, which are available in that review manifesto, some ideas on how to get started with that. But, that's kind of the big picture, what to do that. And then once you have about 10 reviews, I mean, you can keep kind of pounding the pavement, but you've kind of crossed that 80-20 threshold. People at that point who maybe are just finding you for the first time are not going to have the same hesitation. Okay, there's 10 reviews here, 10 versus 11, versus 20 versus 30, maybe not going to make as much difference as from 0 to 10. And so, you kind of cross that threshold. People have enough credibility that they're going to have to begin with. And then it comes to the quality of the reviews and, everything else that the book brings to the table that can help sway that. But at that point, it's past that credibility threshold. Cool. All good, Jordan?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I lost you for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was going to say the key there is to follow up. Obviously, like Rob said, politely, but that's where I get most of the people that respond, is when I do follow up with them. Especially if people agree to leave a book review, they want to do it. So just follow up with them, and if they say, hey, like, if they come right out and say, hey, stop bugging me, just, don't email them again. But yeah, definitely just do the follow-ups and do the work to just remind people and connect with them, because you are asking for something big. You're asking them to take a little bit of their time, even if it's not read the book all the way through. It is to go on Amazon, leave a review. It is a process, and it does take time. So just expect that people aren't going to be able to do that right away.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Cool. Moving on. Number 7, consider a book giveaway. Jordan, do you want to talk about this at all?
Yeah, I think, and I've done this several times, and it's good to potentially build subscribers. You can use a tool. There are several tools out there, like UpViral or KingSumo. KingSumo is a tool. It's a WordPress plugin, actually, that I've used to give away a copy of my book. You set up a page and you say, hey, I'm giving away a copy of my book, or potentially even something related to your book that people would want. You say, hey, I'm giving this away. Type in your email, share it with some people. You're entered to win a signed hardcover copy of my book or something like that. It's just an idea potentially to build more subscribers. It's not something you want to spend too much time on, but it is something you can set up fairly quickly, and it's not going to, for the most part, sell a ton of books, but it is going to help potentially grow your list and just help you to share your book with other people on social media, and just to have a fun thing that you're doing as part of a marketing campaign can be really beneficial.
Yep. Cool. I like that. I don't have too much experience with the giveaway side, so thank you for speaking on that. And if
Sure.
anybody's interested, then yeah, definitely let us know. Again, as always, if you have comments, questions, thoughts, you want explanation or further elaboration on anything, we're happy to do that.
Yep.
So number 8, utilize Amazon ads, Amazon Marketing Services, AMS, aka AMS. So there's all sorts of information to get into there. We're not going to cover all of it, but it's something to look into. Dave Chesson from Kindlepreneur does have a free AMS course that you are welcome to take and that we recommend. It's really helpful. It gives you a sense of what's involved, what the overview is, how to take advantage of it, and check it out. That's going to be your good intro overview. There's other resources to get deeper into it and refine those techniques. But his course is awesome. Everything Dave puts out has a lot of value. So thank you, Dave, for all of your good work. And that's what we encourage people to check out.
Yep. And a really cool thing, Rob, is that actually he just updated that course. I got an email, I think maybe even yesterday, from the affiliates that he updated and added new stuff because, obviously things on Amazon keep changing. So I don't know if it released yesterday or if it's releasing soon, but he is at least in the process of completely updating and rehauling that course. So definitely check it out.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Moving on. Number 9, a guest post blog / podcast / video tour. So this is, let's see, I'll put here, gives you a chance to connect with fellow content creators and to reach their audiences, just offer some cross-pollination and, gives you an opportunity to, depending on the medium that you prefer, whether again, you're writing something or appearing on a podcast or appearing on a video interview or something else, perhaps even live events, depending on the genre and the topic of your book and all of that, then gives you a chance to bring something of value to their audience, gives them content, and gives you a bigger platform to reach and expand your influence.
Yep, I really like this one for that reason, is connecting with other creators and tapping into their audiences, and just when you're starting to get into a niche, when you're starting to work in your sphere on what you're writing about and all that, it's helpful to know other authors and other people that are in that, and then starting to connect with them. It can really make a big difference.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The other note that I have here is when you're doing this, you want to make sure to offer high value audience specific content for their followers. So recognize that people who are giving you this platform, they are performing a service for you. They're giving you an opportunity. And so you want to respond in kind, show respect and consideration for their audience, and not just use it as a shameless plug, as a way to kind of draw people over and not give anything back. You want to offer some value, something that's going to make it so that they love having you as a guest, blogger, as a guest podcast, a podcast guest or a video guest or what have you. Just make sure that, again, it's not about you, it's about the audience, and it's about your followers, and trying to bring as much value as you can and take advantage of the opportunities that are afforded to you and show respect and appreciation for all of that. Cool. Still with us, Jordan?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good deal. Yep. I was just saying, yep, you got it.
Okay, cool. All right. So moving on. Number 10 of our 10-point list, continue to write and improve. And, that's an important part of the marketing. I mean, we've said before, one of the best marketing tools for authors to sell more books is to have additional books out there. So when you have multiple books, it gives you, again, more credibility, gives you multiple opportunities for people to connect with you and to decide, hey, I read one of Jordan's books. I want to find out what else Jordan has written and read more of his books.
Yeah, and I think it's just important to consider there too. As you're writing and as you're improving, just realize that things could potentially go through several iterations. Your books that you released 2 years ago, you may be able to write better sales copy now. And the cool thing about publishing on Amazon is that you can go and update that. I've done that myself several times for my past books, with just the things that I've learned and learning more about copywriting and being in that solution-oriented mindset. Right. I can go back through and rewrite those and then get an increased sales on those books. Mm-hmm. So just, there's so much value in continuing to learn that it's just an important mention as far as the marketing piece goes.
Yep. Exactly. Another thing too, I would say when it comes to additional content creation, future content creation, when you have your book out there, reflect on the positive and negative feedback. Read your reviews, especially if they're thoughtful reviews. If it's not just somebody with a one sentence, "Hey, this book was good," or "Hey, this book sucked," but somebody who
Yeah.
actually had some substantive
Yeah.
comments for it. Reflect on that and say, okay, does this resonate with me? Can I speak to that in my future writing? Is this something that I want to incorporate and utilize to improve myself? Again, whether it's positive and like, hey, I really liked when you did X part of, told this part of the story, or when you focus on this particular topic, and you might decide, hey, that's a topic for an additional book or something worth exploring more. Or, hey, you kind of missed the boat when it came to, Z topic. And I'd really love for you to address it, in this other way or whatever. And so you can take that into consideration and just get better continually with the feedback of your audience. The final thing here I have is connect with your purpose and help to hone your craft. So, again, when it comes to just continuing to write and improve, then figure out, okay, what am I doing? I've marketed this book. I've done my best to get it out there. What is the reason? Why are you trying to reach people with this book? Are you just trying to make a few dollars? Is there something more behind it? What is that something more if it's there? And how can you stay connected with that? Because that can often offer clarity of purpose when it comes to marketing, to figuring out who you want to talk to figuring out how you want to speak to your target audience. Once you identify that and can articulate it in a really clear and concise way, it can help make everything a lot simpler and smoother and more effective as you're continuing the marketing efforts.
Yep, you got it, Rob. I know that's personally helped me writing my recent books and trying to figure out what the purpose is, and trying to find the best things that I can do for my audience. It really is helpful in honing your craft and in honing your writing style and all of that stuff.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So, a good deal. Now, there is a bonus here, and that is consider using a tracker like Trello to track your launches. There are many moving pieces here. We've done our best to outline a handful of the key steps, but sequencing all of them, getting them all lined up and happening on a timeline that is relatively efficient and makes sense for what you're looking for doesn't always come smoothly. And if you haven't done it before, you may run into hiccups. So Jordan's created a helpful a book launch template on Trello, and you can access that. We'll include the link to sign up for that down below. Also, if you purchase or download for free the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, and you have the book launch Gladiator, you can find that as a freebie for anybody in there. Anything you want to share about that, Jordan?
Yeah, I just think it's regardless of how you use it, I've found Trello to be very effective myself in kind of managing all the different pieces. Trello is a project management tool, but you can do it with a spreadsheet or there's other tools out there similar to Trello. But just thinking about all you have to manage and take care of for a book, it's helpful to have something other than a Word doc or a Google Sheets or anything like that to be able to kind of keep track of everything. And Trello is just the way I've found that's super helpful, very intuitive. You can kind of save all your information, move it around, see what's going on. For me, it's a great way to do it, but really just considering whatever way works best for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever way that you select, it's probably going to be a little bit more effective than just having notes that are in your head, and
Yes.
trying
Yeah.
to keep lots of those moving pieces aligned and sensible as you're strategizing. So
Yep.
cool, good deal. I know that we did have, it looked like some comments and some questions from previous videos. Would you like to address that, Jordan?
Yes. Do you have access to those?
Yeah, I do. Let's see.
Because I was going to try to pull them up, but then I didn't want to mess up my connection here.
No problem. So this is from last week. We've got Gene Hoff, DVM. Gene writes, great information, guys. I've published both on Amazon and as a PDF for my own site. The problem I ran into is theft for my site. I update the ebook every year. Yeah, every year or two. But I found my ebook in several places on the web for free, usually earlier versions. Someone bought it, then spewed it all over the internet. These are not sites you can reach with copyright violation notices or anything, just farms with a lot of stolen books. How do you protect from that if you sell from your own website? My conclusion was sell only through Amazon, but I know I lost sales doing that. So really good question. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jordan, and then I can share mine.
Sure. My initial thoughts are, that sucks. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Right.
You said Gene. Is it Gene?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Gene. Yeah. So sorry that happened to you, Gene. For the most part, I don't hear stories of that happening too often. So that really stinks that someone, it sounds like it happened several times, was able to do that. For me, if it happened to me personally, I think I would feel this kind of like, oh, that kind of sucks. But just thinking about how many sales are you losing out on from that? Is it, if those sites are sites that you potentially can't reach with notices, are they sites that other people are generally going to be able to see? I think just thinking about it like that, are you really losing out on sales, even though that's a really kind of crappy thing to have happen? Is it taking away sales? For me, I wouldn't necessarily think it would be, just because of the clientele that are going to be going and downloading that book for free may not have found out about you otherwise. Now, if it happens that there was some crossover there, then that stinks. That person should have just bought it from you or should have bought it on Amazon. But for the most part, I'm not generally as concerned about that. When I upload my book to Amazon, you have the option of doing the digital rights management, and I often don't even check that box, because for the most part, if someone is going to buy my book and put it out there on their own, I'm hoping that potentially some readers out there will go in and sign up for my email list and all of that, and download the freebie and whatnot. I'm finding value in that, and I don't find that happens either. But it is just a couple of thoughts with that. You have any more thoughts on that one, Rob?
I do. Yeah. So I agree with you that it's sort of, in some ways, almost a problem of success. If people are out there, disseminating your book and maybe even purchasing, but downloading it illegally, that means there's interest in what you're doing. And
Yep.
and so that's a good thing. Obviously, it stinks because you put your time and energy into this, and particularly if you are selling higher value, PDFs and what have you, like we've talked about, something for $50 or $100 or several $100. Losing that kind of sale is pretty significant, and the incentive obviously changes for people if they're buying not just the $2.99 ebook, but they can illegally download a $200 PDF or something. But yeah, I agree with you that in general it means that there is an interest in what you're doing. This also kind of highlights the importance of that comprehensive business model. Some books will make a profit on their own, have a return on their investment from just sales, again, particularly if you are selling at a higher price point. But in many cases, it's really helpful to build out those other goods and services, things that are not as easily pirated and disseminated, that whether audio courses or video courses or individual coaching or seminars or things that again just can't be downloaded so cavalierly like that. I do agree with you that somebody who is purchasing it or downloading it may not be the purchasing audience, and it would depend on the particulars and the genre and all of that. But I have heard that in many cases the people who are going and looking for this information for free are generally not part of the purchasing audience anyway. So it's not as if you're really losing a real sale. Again, sometimes you might be, and it sucks. I want to highlight that and concur with you. And sympathize with Gene that boy, this is a really lousy situation. But again, all of that said, I think there are ways to build out your business around it and to make it so that it's not as devastating. I will say too, there are some technical things that you can utilize. So, for example, eJunkie, which is the checkout portal that we use for Archangel Inc. They do have an automated system where you can download PDFs or other audiovisual or I should say other digital content, whether that's audio or visual or print. And they do have some things that are like basically watermarks. So if somebody purchases the PDF, let's say, there is a watermark assigned to that, and it says, hey, this was purchased by john@gmail.com, and it's on there. So if it's disseminated, it's a little easier to track. Now, obviously, you can use image manipulation software and maybe get rid of that and so on and so forth. But you're making it harder for people. And, the reason that people go to these free sites in many cases is because they don't want to work very hard. And, the people who are farming these sites and, who are not really, don't have a retail storefront or accountability in that way, maybe they're going to be a little bit less incentivized to distribute something that is pirated and is advertising the pirated information, and that you have to go and remove that pirated information from each and every page of the document. So that could be something worth looking into as well. There may be other technical outlets there to kind of discourage that sort of piracy, but again, it's for me, a problem of success. It means that people are interested in what you're doing, and you're past that initial threshold that I think that a lot of people are at when they first start out trying to just generate interest and awareness of what they're creating. You have some of that already, so that's good. So what can you do from that point on to help capitalize on it and build your business and actually earn that income that is legitimately yours.
Yep.
Cool. Let's see. There was a comment. I don't know if we addressed this. This is from a few weeks ago, from one of my other books or one of my other videos, hardcover books on Amazon. It said the hardcover will have a different ISBN. So I wonder if that will affect it being listed alongside my paperback and ebook, which is already on Amazon. Does Ingram Spark set this up for you? And yes, the answer is if you create your book through Ingram Spark, they can distribute through Amazon and it will be listed side by side. So if you look up on Amazon, the Volcanic Momentum, once again, we got that bad boy right here, and this is the hardcover edition. But you can go on Amazon and purchase it, and you can see it right alongside of the ebook and the paperback editions as well. Cool. I think that's all I got. Anything else that you wanted to share? Big picture, just summary for marketing tips.
I think big picture summary, again, definitely, remember the first three, get a great cover, spend time picking out a really good title for your book, and then focus on that book description. So take time tweaking it, have other people read it or have someone else write it for you, have a copywriter write it for you. And then as you're going, think about the other options too. Think about the big picture and what you really want to accomplish. What solution are you providing to your audience? Those are all great marketing strategy type questions. But yeah, definitely just let Rob and I know if anyone out there has any questions related to marketing specifically. We'd be, as Rob was saying, we're happy to dive into specific subjects, or if you like, the overviews of the big subjects too, we can provide that as well. So just let us know how we can best help you.
Yep. Awesome. I love that summary, Jordan. I am happy to wrap up on that and agree. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Leave thoughts, comments, questions down below. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff that tells YouTube that we are friends
Yep.
and that you like us. And we're happy to keep continuing on. And for anybody out there on Facebook later, we'll be uploading this, not live, but we'll have that up on Facebook within the next day or two. So with that, have an awesome rest of the afternoon or morning, wherever you are. And this is Rob and Jordan of Archangel Inc. Live. Have a good one.
Cool. See you guys.